The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by our student presidential scholars.
I'm going to raise the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
So moved. Second.
First by Ms. Walker, second by Ms. Lang. Roll call.
Ms. Walker?
Aye.
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 Motion carries 6-0. Next up is recognitions. I'll turn this over to Mr. Dykeman.
Thank you, Mr. Lang, and happy Pi Day. Who here besides Dr. Hogan could give me pi to 10 places? Anyone? Any of our U.S. presidential scholars? Anybody? Pi to 10 places?
1, 4, 1, 5, 9, 2, 6, 5, 3, 5.
He wasn't expecting.
Ladies, I was expecting that. There's a reason, ladies and gentlemen, that that is a U.S. presidential scholars candidate. Congratulations to Francis Howell High School junior Ryan Skillington. He's the latest state champion to come out of the Viking wrestling program. Ryan, come on up. Ryan, who finished the season with a record of 33-2, won the heavyweight match 3-2. Ryan became the first Howell heavyweight in the history of the storied program to win a state championship. The Francis Howell High School wrestling program has now crowned a state champion in 4 consecutive years and had a wrestler in the state finals for 6 straight years. Congratulations, Ryan. Let me have my hand back when you're done with that.
Parents and coach, come on up. It was also a great year for the Francis Howell High School girls wrestling program. Emily Everwine, can you please come up? Senior Emily Everwine made history when she became the first female from the Francis Howell School District to medal at the Misha State Championships. Emily finished the season with a record of 23-2 and captured a 4th place medal at state, all in her first year of wrestling. You couldn't tell it until you shook his hand. I'm sorry. Congratulations.
The U.S. Department of Education has announced that seniors Ariana Chavez from Francis Howell North, Stephanie Monson from Francis Howell Central, and David Yang from Francis Howell High School have been named candidates in the 2019 U.S. Presidential Scholars Program. The 4,500 candidates from across the country were selected out of nearly 3.6 million U.S. high school seniors. Could I have my candidates come up, please? Scholars are selected on the basis of superior academic and artistic achievements, leadership qualities,
strong character, and involvement in community and school activities. A distinguished panel of educators will review these submissions and select 600 semifinalists in April. The Commission on Presidential Scholars will select the finalists, and the U.S. Department of Education will announce the scholars in May. Good luck to our presidential scholarship candidates. David Yang couldn't be here this evening, but we know David, he's a regular visitor. Apparently there's a little basketball game going on in Springfield involving Francis Howell High School.
Oh, do you guys want to do principals and parents?
Go ahead, Sonny. Sonny, you've never been shy in your life. It's another camera.
Let me fix it.
The Missouri Association of Secondary School Principals has announced that Sager Middle School Principal Dr. Candy Worley has been named the Middle School Principal of the Year. Dr. Worley has established a positive and collaborative culture at Sager where teachers are truly part of a professional learning community. This work has contributed to the continued improvement of Sager's MAP scores over the years. Dr. Worley has worked to improve student success and improve the learning environment as well. She has created a culture where kids are loved, are comfortable, and feel safe. Dr. Worley will also be in the running to represent Missouri in the 2019 National Principal of the Year program. Congratulations, Candy.
They want your parents or your coach coming up? Yes.
Stay here, Candy. As luck would have it, our student board representative this month is from Sager Middle School. Here to introduce him is Dr. Candy Worley.
Good evening, Board of Education, our Executive Cabinet, and Dr. Mary Hendricks Harris. It's my pleasure this evening to introduce Jason Kuhn. Jason Kuhn has been in the Francis Howell School District just since the beginning of this year, but in this short amount of time, he has really made an impact on our school. He is the son of Jeffrey and Janet Kuhn and a wonderful brother to Jeremy Kuhn. He loves wrestling and MMA. He likes to ski shoot. He likes to do anything outdoors and is an all-around great student. His teachers describe him in many wonderful ways. They describe him as polite, kind, caring, respectful, a future leader, and an outstanding junior Spartan. There were many paragraphs that were written about him from his teachers when we were trying to nominate him this evening, because we wanted to make sure we said the greatest things about him that truly reflected what our teachers believed him to be. He embodies the pillars of what Sager stands for, which is respect, responsibility, and safety. And it is our pleasure to introduce Jason Kuhn for the Board of Education.
Jason. We're excited to have you as the student board rep from Sager. We encourage you to participate in discussion and ask questions. The only thing you can't do this evening is vote. Mr. Hayner will get you set up on the iPad for you to follow right along with us. To ask any questions, just push your light button up there and you can ask any questions. Next up is patron comments. I don't see any. FHEA, FISPA. Going right along. Consent agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented for March 14th, 2019.
Second.
First by Ms. Stiglitz, second by Ms. Walker. Is there any discussion or no discussion of this? By roll call?
Ms. Lane?
Aye.
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 Motion carries 6-0. Next up is a travel report. I'll entertain a motion to approve the request to attend a meeting, travel report as presented.
So moved. Second.
First by Ms. Walker, second by Ms. Lang. Any discussion? By roll call?
Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries 5-1. Reason for abstaining? Thank you. Next up is academic high target. Now on the agenda, we have the best practice writers workshop. Turn it over to Dr. Garland.
Good evening, Board of Education and Executive Cabinet. It is my honor to introduce to you Dr. Carrie Hepburn. Dr. Carrie Hepburn, she's our Dr. Hepburn's our elementary ELA content leader, and she's going to present our best practice tonight on Writers Workshop. Thank you, guys. I'm going to tell you, first of all, I'm very uncomfortable staying in one space. Like, in the elementary world, we move a lot, so I'm going to work really hard to stay in one place and keep moving. So thank you for having me here tonight. When Dr. Garland invited me to have the opportunity to share with you guys about Writers Workshop, I really felt honored because the work that our teachers are doing in elementary when it comes to Writers Workshop is incredible. And I really just want to take this next few minutes just bragging on them and all that they're doing and on our students. So hopefully you guys will just humor me during this time as I just brag on them. Perfect. So Writers Workshop has been around for a long time. It's not brand new as much as some people think. So in about 1999, Nancy Atwell started talking about Writers Workshop. And she spoke about how Writers Workshop, what happens during that time is we're developing writers. We teach them to think, we teach them to compose, we teach them to revise, and we teach them to share their work. And about 1999 is when Frances Howell started thinking about what is this balanced literacy thing and what is the workshop model. So in 2001, Frances Howell did adopt the workshop model under balanced literacy, which is Readers Workshop, Writers Workshop, and Language Word Study. They adopted that in 2001 in Frances Howell for the elementary classrooms. So if you don't know what happens during Writers Workshop, I think you should, so I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about it. Writers Workshop starts out with a 10-minute mini lesson where the teacher explicitly explains a strategy that the students can use in their writing. And so during that time, we use the gradual release model, and that's where the teacher models for the students what to do, and then they do the we do portion where the students and the teacher work together, and then the students do the I do where they go out during the workshop time and they go off and they start doing that work. So the instruction part's 10 minutes out of about an hour of Writers Workshop, and then the students go practice. And so you might think, what is the teacher doing while the students are practicing? Well, the teacher's going around and they're conferring with students, and they're having small group instruction that helps students move along that writing continuum. So our entire goal during Writers Workshop is to move students from one level to the next, and that's happening every single day for about 45 minutes where the teachers are working with the students. And it's very differentiated, it's very targeted, it's very intentional. After that time, we spend about 3 to 5 minutes of share to kind of wrap up and celebrate the work that we just did in that Writers Workshop time. And so the students might share like strategies that they've applied, ways they've improved their writing, how they help their friends, because we do a lot of peer work together too during this time. So it's kind of just a way to end the time together, so you guys get a little idea of what it looks like in starting in kindergarten during a Writers Workshop block. So we have new English Language Arts curriculum in kindergarten through 3rd grade. You guys probably checked that out last year. It's a little robust, rumor has it, but it is, because 2.5 hours a day in an elementary classroom is spent on reading and writing, quite frankly, so it's going to be robust. So in 2017, we pulled teachers together for that curriculum writing in English Language Arts, Writers Workshop. And what we did was very unique in that we provided every single building to send a representative for kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade. Because last year, we're only implementing right now kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, if you're not sure, if you guys didn't know that. So in 2017, we brought all these teachers together, so every building was represented, every grade level. On top of, we had SPED, ESOL, and literacy coaches. So we had fairly large curriculum writing groups. And what we did was we looked at data to see, so we looked at data from our old English Language Arts curriculum, and we wanted to see if we noticed trends. So we looked at benchmark data, curriculum data, we looked at class visit data on balanced literacy walks. And then another thing that we looked at was we brought in, at the end of our curriculum cycle, we send a survey out to all teachers, and I'm not sure if you guys know that on the curriculum, and we send a survey out to all parents of students in that classroom. And we pulled that data, and we saw some really interesting trends in that data. What we saw was our old English Language Arts curriculum used to have our science and social studies embedded in that, so when kids were reading about what they would study in social studies, they would write about it. And we saw a trend about 2nd grade, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, students started to dislike reading and writing. And that was frightening for us. So in 2017, we're like, what is going on? Well, what was happening was we were having the kids research the topics that they would study in science and social studies, and then they would write a 5-paragraph essay about it. And they started that early, kindergarten, where they would read and then they'd write a paragraph, in kindergarten, and it just kept, they did that year after year after year, and so they were losing their love of being a writer and being a reader. So what we did was we created a vision statements together, and you would see those in our curriculum, and that was our transfer goals. So when I pulled the teachers together, I was like, look at all this data, look at what teachers are telling us about how our kids, they love reading and writing in kindergarten and 1st, and then they're sick of it by the time they hit 2nd grade and until 5th, so we need to think differently than we've thought before. So what we did was we created vision statements, and we said, if you could have anything for your kids as a writer, what would it be? And they said, we want our kids to love being a writer, we want our kids to use their writing to share their voice with others, and we wanted them to be able to be communicators through writing. And so that is what helped guide us to writing our new English Language Arts curriculum. And so what we did was, we also looked through those 6 surveys, and teachers starting in kindergarten, every grade level, asked for us to look at the units of study by Lucy Calkins. And so you guys probably only hear the word Lucy Calkins. They're like, we do Lucy, we do units, we do Lucy's units, but it's the units of study, and Lucy Calkins happens to be one of the authors of the units of study. So we knew as a district, if we decided to tackle that, that was a pretty big job. And so in 2017, we took all of this to the academic team, all of the Step 6 survey results, all the recommendations from the teachers, our hopes and our dreams for our kids. And the academic team during that time said, you know what? If we're gonna do it, we need to provide our teachers the professional development and the learning that they deserve in order to implement this well. Because we had talked with other districts in the area that had tried it and they were starting over again because they hadn't taken the time to professionally learn how to implement it and the why behind it. And so that was really important to us. So another reason I want to be here is to say thank you. Thank you to all of you that supported this and that made this happen for our teachers and our kids, because really I'm going to let them do most of the talking the rest of the time. So we have a video of some teachers here. We hope.
A change that I've noticed is with our previous units of study, we would work through the unit and through the writing process, and when we got to the end, we would have 25 beautiful pieces of writing that were all really similar. Kids would use the same facts, they would use the same evidence, and we would scaffold them a lot to be following the same topic. A change that I've noticed now with our new units of study is that kids have a lot more independence to choose their own topic, and our writing doesn't all look the same. We really have the ability to meet them where they are and help them with their individual needs in the writing process, instead of working towards a product in the end where everything just looks similar for all kids.
I've seen lots of changes. I think as a teacher, I've been able to enjoy writing a lot more, just because during many lessons, you get to develop even more of a relationship with the kids and understand them as writers. As students, they're able to share their voice with their writing and are really able to pick what they want to write about and share their ideas. And they just do so many incredible things in their writing every day. And, we get to conference with kids and really learn more about them. And when the kids get an opportunity to share with their teacher or share with their parents, it's just a really exciting time for them. And it brings back the fun in Writers Workshop.
I'm not the best video editor, so I apologize for those skills, but okay, so in 2018, last year was when we actually began writing the English Language Arts curriculum for kindergarten through 3rd grade. So during that time, what we noticed was more teachers across the district started piloting the units of study for writing. So some of the buildings started purchasing those materials for writing so that their teachers could start using those. We started seeing increases in author celebrations, so if you're not on Twitter, I highly recommend you join and that you follow our schools and our teachers and follow me, #Carrie Hepburn kind of thing. And so you can just see all the amazing things that are happening in our classrooms, because there are celebrations, there were celebrations all day today, there are celebrations all day tomorrow, and people are sharing the great things that are happening in our classroom and highlighting their students. We also began our professional learning with the Teachers College. The Teachers College flew in from New York, and what you'll see are our first graduates from the Homegrown Institute of Writing that took place in April. So in April, we had 60 teachers trained from the Teachers College, and then we hosted another event in July, and we had 225 people attend in July for the Homegrown Institute, and overwhelmingly teachers stopped and said it was the best professional learning of their career. And I mean, I have emails, and I know they shared emails with you guys, and people are begging to come back this summer and do it again for free. Like, they're like, I don't have to receive a stipend if you'll let me come again. And so they're knocking down the doors. They loved this experience. So again, thank you for supporting that. I want you to see you've got to see this. Oh, you got to see these cuties. So they're going to talk to you about writing.
Oh,
Little short stories that come out of dreams, but now we're actually writing and debating, and I think we're.
You really do have to see that first guy. He's a cutie.
Well, that we can like make new books, the best books we want to. Well, last year we did this thing where we would write like little short stories that could be songs, but now we're actually writing and painting, and I think we're learning a lot.
What do you like about Writer's Workshop?
I like that because I started off, we didn't do that much and I wasn't that good, but now after all of this, I feel like I'm a better writer, more descriptive, and I know how to dig deeper and make really convince the reader who's reading it.
So we're getting to 2019, and I'm just gonna speed through this really quick. This year, K through 3 is implementing the new units of study curriculum, and we're doing the slow roll. So this year and next year, they're implementing writing, and then starting in 2020, we'll start with the units of study for reading. We have sent literacy leaders to the Teachers College in New York City to learn from the Coaching Institute so we can come back and recreate what they're doing there here in Francis Howell in St. Charles, Missouri. And this summer, we have host another Summer Institute for Writing in 2019. 2020, 2021, we'll have reading, so that's. We have a coach on this one, a couple coaches sharing with you their thoughts.
Being able to attend the Homegrown Institute in Francis Howell and recently the Coaches Institute for Writing in New York has been a valuable learning opportunity for me as a literacy coach at Henderson. I was able to take my learning about best practice writing instruction and share that out as I work side by side in classrooms with teachers on a daily basis, with their grade level teams to plan, and also on our half days to teachers who weren't able to attend that training this summer. The Coaching Institute added to my toolkit of strategies that I can use to help teachers reflect on best practice instruction and what it looks like as they learn about implementing our new curriculum and the new resources that we've been provided by the district. Being able to attend these professional development trainings has just had a profound impact on our students and their level of writing that they're doing, their love for writing, and just the enthusiasm and excitement about writing that's surrounding our buildings right now.
Hi, I'm Liz, and this is Becky, and we are literacy coaches at Independence Elementary. And we have both been fortunate enough to have attended both the Homegrown Institute and the Coaching Institute. And I think that we both agree that has been one of the most beneficial staff developments that we've been a part of. The Coaching Institute, I feel like, has really provided us with new methods to coach teachers that are hands-on and really practical and meaningful. And I think that those methods also allow for us to be really responsive to both the teachers and the students.
I do agree, and that the Homegrown Institute has also allowed for teachers and coaches to target and implement instructional strategies and methods more effectively within our writers' workshop, and that this has definitely lifted the level of instruction and the volume of writing for our students in our building here at Independence.
Vicki, we can skip that next video. We'll skip that. And okay, so what's our future of Writers Workshop? We're going to continue our partnership with the Teachers College and continue that professional learning. We're going to continue that professional learning and writing for all of our teachers and for all of our administrators and for our staff. So we also right now have going on where the administrators are participating in a Reading Well book study, a Twitter chat. So hopefully you could catch us in the Twitter sphere. And we're going to just continue to create that culture of learning for our teachers and allow them to learn and continue this important work. So I think we end with just 2 short clips, and if you have any questions. So this is what it looks like on Twitter every day. The author celebrations. These are our teachers celebrating what's happening in their rooms. That's every day, guys. It's like I'm living a dream every day of my life. I get those kinds of things. And then I'd like for you to hear from this little lady, and she's gonna teach you about what she did today in her writing. Your turn, now go.
And I used some sparkly words like the train trips out of the train station, and she goes on a dazzling adventure to find her family.
Oh my goodness! A dazzling adventure? You did add sparkly
And the
words.
train jerked.
And her being jerked out of the train station.
That's awesome.
So, as you guys can see, like, wonderful things are going on, and it was really hard to not share all of it with you guys, but this is just a highlight, and it's because of the wonderful support that we're receiving from all of you, and we're so thankful. Does anyone have any questions? Great.
Mike, Mr. Hay?
Yeah,
Yes.
I just want to add, it's, you know, you explained how, you know, all the planning that went into it and how in some districts it didn't work because of the planning and lack of PD and everything, but I think that everybody in this room can see that all that was great, the planning is great, but the most important thing that I saw from this is the passion. Without the passion, you know, that's what makes great teachers, a great district and everything. Thank you for that.
Thank you, thank you. It's, the teachers, they're so passionate and they're so excited and they're working so hard, hours and hours, but what's driving them is seeing their students and the progress that they're making, and so it's worth the time. Our kids are worth it, so, thank you. Thanks, Harry.
MSBA report.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Missouri School Boards Association's board report for the month of March. We thank you for the opportunity to share some news and information during a few minutes of your board meeting. We begin with a look at school safety in the aftermath of a series of school shootings this year, including the tragedy at a Parkland, Florida high school last month that left 17 students and adults dead. School leaders and school safety officials throughout Missouri and the nation are now reevaluating district safety plans and discussing ways to ensure our schools remain among the safest places for our students, teachers, and staff. MSBA's Center for Education Safety offers what's called behavioral risk assessment training that's designed to help school officials identify and get help for troubled students in order to prevent a tragedy. Amy Bledsoe is an education safety coordinator for MSBA's Center for Education Safety, and she says the training is designed for teams within a school district who then set up a formal process to help students and staff report concerns.
So you have your team members who are trained, but anyone can bring information to either the team or to another faculty or staff member. Say a student wants to bring forth something that they're concerned about, then they would tell a teacher or a coach, whoever they're comfortable with, and that person would relay the information on to the administration and the team, and then the team gets to work and identifies the situation. They go through some interview processes and figure out really what's needed in that situation and then what steps to take.
The Center for Education Safety is the only statewide school safety organization in Missouri and is supported and operated by the Missouri School Boards Association. Contact the Center for Education Safety if your school district is interested in the behavioral risk assessment training. More than 250 school board members.
So it appears we have posted a update that you all have seen before. There is a new March 1 posted on the MSBA website, and we would encourage you to independently watch that at home. There are some very important.
MSBA 2018.
There are some very important things in the March update.
Yes, the link on board docs is correct.
Yep. So you should be able to just go to the board meeting.
Operators are.
Okay. Moving on to fiscal responsibility. I would entertain a motion to approve the purchases over 7,500 as presented.
So moved. Second.
First by Ms. Walker, second by Ms. Stiglich. Mr. Supple.
I'd be happy to answer any questions, but I don't have anything additional.
Okay, any questions, discussion? By roll call?
Ms. Stiglich?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 6-0. Number 8, fiscal responsibility. I will entertain a motion to approve the monthly financial report for February 2019 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Walker, second by Mr. Lane. Mr. Supple, anything to add?
Just a couple things, Mr. Lane, thank you. First of all, I would just point out, since we had a conversation previously about the financial institution tax, that as I explained in the memo this year, if you make an adjustment for that, our revenue's right on track with where we projected it would be. So I'm happy to see that. I am wanting to share with the board that, the state continues to be concerned about whether it's going to be able to make its revenue target for this year. The good news is that revenue that was generated last year in excess of budget requirements is going to most likely fill any gap that might be created this year. But information that came just this week is that individual income tax collections continue to be down about $350 million, which is about 9.5% below where they were last year at this time. So I think many people in Jefferson City are crossing their fingers that on April 15th, the checks are going to come rolling in and the situation will even itself out. But even today at a meeting at Ed Plus, there was general consensus that nobody really knows. And so we continue to watch that. That certainly will have an impact on the state's ability to fund the budget for next year. That's a huge concern. And then I will just say that we continue to operate pretty well in terms of our expenditures. So I think we're on track to finish the year in a good position. And we'll continue to be diligent as we go through the fiscal year.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Payne?
Aye.
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 Motion carries 6-0. Up next, fiscal responsibility, transportation update. I'll turn this over to you, Mr. Supple.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. I am very happy to introduce Ms. Jennifer Simpson to the board. She is our Director of Transportation, and she has some information to share tonight about how we're proceeding in our transition to in-house operations. Jen.
Thank you. Vice President Lang, members of the board, and Dr. Hendricks Harris, thank you for allowing me to be a part of this very exciting adventure. I'm very excited to be one of the newest members of the Francis Howell team and look forward to helping us transition to this new department. So thank you. We'll start out by talking about buses in our facilities. I just want to give you a brief update of some of the things that have occurred in the last couple months since we've started down this road. As you know, you all approved 191 new buses to be built, so thank you very much for that. Really, since January 7th, I've been working to identify and prioritize all of the various aspects of creating this department while overseeing the first student operation. The interactions with the first student folks, the building administrators, our parents, have all helped me to identify what's working well and what are our greatest opportunities for improvement. So I appreciate that opportunity. I'd like to thank you for the fleet and say that right now our buses are starting to roll off the assembly line. So now we're working with Midwest Transit to install all of the additional equipment. So for example, the onboard GPS information and diagnostic equipment, as well as our cameras. All of that equipment is being installed on our buses as we speak, as they're coming off the assembly line. So that's very exciting. There was a small change to the way that we incorporated the financial costs of some of that additional equipment. Originally, I don't know if you remember, but we approved it as one lump sum of additional equipment. And we actually took some of those costs and incorporated them into our lease payment for the 34 Type A buses. So the dollars are the same, it just presents a little bit differently. But what that will do is help us to transition those buses out when their lease is up. So it just makes that process a little simpler and smoother. So
just to kind of let you know about that small change. We are working to secure parking spots for these new buses. So Midwest Transit and First Student and I are working to clear parking lots and identify where we are going to actually have these buses delivered to when they start arriving in the beginning to middle of May. So that's kind of what's happening with the buses. Then as far as our facility renovations. So after reviewing lots of options, and I do mean lots of options, and looking at the proposed costs and the timelines necessary to lease new modular buildings, that was one of the things we considered doing over here at the St. Peter's Howell Road location. The decision was made instead to renovate the annex, which is where we had a small office, I guess driver's room really is what was down at the annex before. So we're renovating the annex, we're expanding the footprint of the transportation facility down there. So we're not expanding the building, it's just the warehouse is gonna share their space a little bit more with us than we maybe did in the past. So that's the renovation that you'll be seeing happen at the annex. And once that is complete, then we're gonna move over and we'll start doing what we're gonna call a refresh on the modular units here on the St. Peter's Howell facility. So we are working with Honer and McClure to finalize the plans for the annex. That's our first step. As soon as we get those drawings, which we anticipate receiving in the next day or so, then we will present those to St. Charles County so that we can get the permits to begin the work. So we're hoping to see that work begin really soon and get moving on that facility. Once the annex renovations are underway, then we'll focus more on the drawings and exactly what's going to happen at the modulars over here, and then we'll move the process over to this location as soon as the annex is finished. One of the things we plan to do is operate summer school from the annex, so that's another reason why we want to finish that project first, and then First Student will actually move to the annex for when school is over, so May 22nd, and then they'll operate summer school from there, and that will allow us the time to renovate this facility and have everything ready to roll no later than July 15th is the plan. How will we fill all of these positions, right? We have a lot of people to hire here in the Francis Howell School District. But the HR department has been providing wonderful assistance with the hiring process. I began meeting with the drivers back in February. And the purpose of the meetings originally is just to share all of the updates. So similar to what I'm doing here tonight, I do with the drivers every other Thursday. And so the first thing that, of course, they wanted to know is how is this going to work? How are we going to be hired? And what's it going to look like? They had all kinds of questions. And so what we have decided is to have 2 informational meetings on March 25th and 26th. And that's when we have a whole team of folks from Francis Howell that will be there to share everything that the drivers and monitors need to know about becoming a Francis Howell employee. So we'll share the benefits package, everything they need to know. So it's a very informational type meeting. And that's the kickoff, because as of that day, they can call and start scheduling their interviews. On April 10th and 12th, we're going to have application labs set up. So we'll have computer stations set up here and staff available to help the drivers and monitors fill out their application online. They don't have to do it at the lab if they're comfortable doing it at home or they have access to a computer. Of course, they're welcome to do that. But if they need assistance, then we're going to be here to help them with that. Our interviews will start the week of April 15th and run through the week of the 25th. We have a whole team of folks that are going to be helping us do those interviews. And the goal of that event is that the team members will have all of the information they need to make a decision and hopefully be able to offer jobs to potential candidates on site. And then we'll have other folks set up to be able to help those candidates learn the next steps in becoming a Francis Howell employee. So that is one of the things, and this is only open to our First Student Francis Howell drivers. So, for example, there are some drivers that are First Student drivers, but they drive at Northwest House Springs. They're interested in applying here, but they're not going to get to be a part of this initial plan. This is only for our own drivers. So, once we fill all of our positions, our driver positions from our internal candidates, that's when we'll decide what additional needs we have as far as job fairs or posting positions for other drivers from the area to apply. That's kind of how that is going to work. We also have set up a timeline for hiring our full-time staff. We have our 2 manager positions posted, and actually the fleet maintenance manager position is either posted today or in the next day or so. And we will start, we're accepting applications now and resumes now, and then we'll be interviewing for those positions first, and hoping to bring some of those recommendations to you all in the month of April. So, and then we'll just keep filling positions until we have everybody hired. Some of the current action steps, there are a lot of things that happen every single day in this process, I can assure you, but this is just a few of the highlights. Right now, the staff from the HR department, benefits, payroll, technology, everyone is meeting with me on a regular basis to just iron out all of the different processes that we need to put in place. There's a lot of logistics that go into this, this transition, and so we're working to do that as seamlessly as possible. Last night, I had the opportunity to meet with our transportation task force. I'd like to thank Michelle and Mike for serving on that. We really appreciate that. And we had 11 members in place for that meeting. And the purpose of the task force is really just to provide updates to the community, but also to ask for feedback on the processes we're going through it, but also where they would like to see the transportation to go in the future. So they were sent away from that meeting last night with a little bit of homework. I think Carl is here as well. Carl is a member of that committee too. Their homework was to consider the need and the thought of starting student tracking on our buses. So purchasing software that allows our parents and our administrators to see when kids are getting on buses and get off of exiting buses. They're also looking at ways that we can improve route efficiency and what that would look like. And then also additional opportunities for improvement. So everyone at that table had different ideas and came from different walks, and so that's exactly what we were looking for. So I'm excited to hear what they bring to our next meeting. We're going to meet every month, at least through, we're going to see September, probably October. We want to see not only see the transition through, but also find out what's going well and what we can do in the future. So that's what the task force is working on right now. Like I mentioned earlier, I do meet with the drivers on a bi-monthly basis, so every other Thursday. I go down to the location here and then also at the annex and meet with drivers and monitors and share updates as to where we are in the process. And they have all kinds of really great and interesting questions that they bring to me each time that we meet. And they know that my job then is to find the answers and bring them back the next time. So I've been really excited to see the turnout at those meetings. We have a lot of folks that are showing up and that are excited to hear the answers and really are bringing great points. You know, did you think about this? Did you think about that kind of stuff? And so I appreciate their feedback, and it's a great way for me to informally get to know a lot of them, and so that's going well. So far, it's ended each time in a very positive manner, so that's always good. Here's a few additional things that are happening right now. Like I mentioned, lots of meetings going on. Meeting with different groups like vacation station staff, for example, to talk about field trips over the summer, how will we transport for those. I met with the administrative assistants for our athletic director, our activities directors, to look at how we transport for sporting events and field trips. So all of those type of meetings are happening so that we can make sure we know all of the different pieces that go into this puzzle. I'm going to be meeting with the BIS staff next week, I believe, or the week after, I think. 2 weeks, thank you. One of the things that we're looking at doing a little bit differently is rolling out parent information regarding their children's bus in August. So from now on, instead of having to go and look at a list of routes and find where your child's bus information is, we're going to have each child's information, their specific information in Infinite Campus. And so parents will be able to access that. We're also going to be able to send out emails and text messages to parents about their children specifically. So they'll know their child's bus number, the time that it's coming, and the bus stop location. So we'll start sending those messages out at the end of July, and then have the information available for parents to access in August. So that way they can see the most up-to-date information, even as we're approaching the days of school starting. So we'll be working with the BIS staff to roll that out and kind of do some tweaks in Infinite Campus to make that available. The technology department is working hard to help us through all of these. I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of the things that I'm discussing tonight have to do with technology. And so Rich and his team are working with me on a daily, multiple times a day basis to figure out what all the pieces are that we need to put in place. I'm constantly learning additional ways that we can improve our transportation services for the upcoming years, and I kind of feel like every task is another piece of that puzzle, and so we're just assembling all of those puzzle pieces at this point. This is a few of the priorities for March and April. There's several others, but these are kind of the highlights. This is the short list, I guess you could say. As you all know, this is a big project with a very short timeline. So we're doing everything we can as quickly as we can, but still a thorough and efficient manner. The responses that I've received from our Francis House staff, as well as other transportation professionals in the St. Louis area, have been amazing. They're very positive and inspiring. All of a sudden, everybody wants to work at Francis House, so that's pretty cool. So, except maybe some of my fellow directors who don't necessarily like what they're seeing. They know they might be losing some valuable staff, but otherwise, everyone else is really excited about what we have going on. So I just want to thank you for allowing me to lead this charge, to build this team, and to improve the level of transportation for our students and staff. I'm both honored and inspired to be a part of this. Do you have any questions?
Ms. Walker?
I just have a statement, and I mentioned this to you last night. Being a part of the task force, it was really kind of fun last night to see her passion for transportation. I didn't realize passion for transportation could be a thing, but I'm very glad that you are leading this charge, and I'm very confident that we're in good hands, and I appreciate everything you're doing.
It's funny you say that. One of the things she said in one of her many interviews was, "You're not going to believe this, but I'm passionate about transportation."
She is. Had my head checked, but yes.
I just have a couple questions. One that I got asked was, will there be Wi-Fi on the buses?
Oh, that's a great question. One of the software companies that we are considering for student tracking, if we were decide to go that route, also has Wi-Fi. It's part of their package. So that is something that we may look at doing in the future. We won't start out there. There's lots of things that we can add on to as we go, but we really just need to get it up and running that first day in August.
Okay. And one more thing, how about cameras on the outside of the bus, like around the stop arms?
So we bought 191 buses, right? And all of those buses have at least 3 cameras on them. And those 3 cameras are on the inside of the bus. But then we bought 50 buses that have stop arm cameras. So that way, if we know there's an area that's a problem, we can switch out that bus and put that bus on the route for a while. And that's kind of a pilot program to see how those cameras work. I'll be honest, I haven't had stop arm cameras in my career so far, but this is becoming a really big problem. Obviously, I'm sure you hear about it in the news all the time. So I appreciate the opportunity to purchase 50 additional stop arm cameras. I'll be excited to see how that works.
And Mr. Lane, that was a suggestion that came to us early on from the drivers, that we consider having stop arm cameras. Currently, the legislation, the laws don't allow police officers to actually issue a ticket for a video that's recorded from a stop arm camera. So if the police officer observes it happening in person, that's an offense that they can stop you for, but we can't provide the video to them and ticket that individual. But there is legislation being considered, I don't know what will happen with it this session, to make it possible for us to provide that stop arm camera video and let that be a ticketable offense, which may help. The only other piece I would add is that in considering what to do with the St. Peter's Howell Road site, we know there's a tremendous amount of work that needs to be done beyond what happens with the office space, if you will. The garage area itself is in need of major repair and expansion perhaps, and the parking lot is falling apart. So we determined after examining it that whatever we would invest in new modulars may be a very poor investment because it's not a long-term solution for that site. And so it was a tough decision because, you know, Jen's going to be working down there. She didn't exactly like the looks of the place, but we know that the bus garage is at the top of the list of items on our comprehensive facilities master plan. And we're very hopeful that in a very short time, we'll secure the funding necessary to do a comprehensive overhaul of this site to make it a much more user-friendly, functional site for both the drivers and the staff who work there all the time.
Harris.
Yeah, we'll allow each of the goal committees to provide you a 1-minute update, and then you can see your reports that are at one time. Goal 3, that's me.
Well, I'm gonna take Jen's celebration as part of the celebrations in goal 3. If we're attracting some great candidates to transportation, that's pretty exciting to hear. So I'm glad that we're able to do that. Folks are excited about coming to Francis Howell. The goal 3 area is to attract, develop, and retain great employees to continuously improve student, team, school, and district performance. So we have many celebrations in our goal area. Our team has had 2 full work days where we've really been able to take some time together and dive into the work of goal 3. Our action steps for strategy 2 and 1 have been finalized and paced over the 5-year period. We really spent a lot of time making sure that our team was thinking big enough and looking ahead, pushing our thinking to a 5-year plan and what our district could become. We do have our KPIs for both strategy 1 and 2 finalized, and I'll share those with you in just a bit. In the area of attracting, we held our second Meet FHSD event. It is a very unique recruiting opportunity for Francis Howell. When we shared it at our regional HR meeting, they were intrigued by what we were doing with Meet FHSD because they've not heard of something like it before. But 174 candidates came to our event. And then we also participated in a regional job fair where many school districts were invited to attend, and over 300 teaching candidates attended that job fair. And we were pretty excited. As you looked down the hallway, there was a long, long line of applicants waiting to talk to Mr. Delaney and I to learn about opportunities in Francis Howell. So much so that other school districts were coming over and trying to steal people from our line. So we'll take that as a celebration and attracting some folks. Erin Murray's been working with the Wellness Committee, and you'll see some great things about the culture of our district, working with the Right Direction program and the Inspire team, just teaching and training our employees on stress and their work environment and just guiding that work as well. And we have started, we put out applications for our Tech Ambassador program, and we've shared that with our Professional Development Committee, and we're starting to look at candidates who might be a good fit for that. We've are at about 83 strands that have been developed for the 1920 professional development that will happen in our adult learning program. So we're excited that our teachers will be able to enroll in that in 4th quarter. So we've worked really hard to determine what those KPIs will look like for goal 3, and going back to that goal of attracting, developing, and retaining employees. And so we will start to look at the number of applications per position that we post. We'll do some surveys around PD satisfaction. We'll start to look at performance evaluation scores, the quality of our professional learning and collaboration. We'd like to also take a look at our employee attendance around retention, our climate surveys, and then our staff retention. So we'll work to determine exactly what those measures will look like, what the goal will be, and what our current reality is, but those are the areas of measures that we'll start to look at to ensure that we're performing in our area. Some of the challenges that we find as we work through the strategies is time. Where will we find the time to do some of the work, or if we implement some training, when are we going to be able to provide that professional development to our staff? So that's one of the challenges that we'll find, as well as some tools that may be needed, like an improved data management system or a collaboration platform. So we don't have those tools, and some of the work that we're looking to do may require us to change those areas. When it comes to resources, we have not identified specific actions yet. That is our next step, is to work on identifying some action teams and what those first steps will be. But we did include in our budgets some resources to help us through that. So whether that is release time and travel and registration for professional development around those leadership opportunities, or around increasing some of the professional learning for our support staff members, and then also in those areas of rewarding and recognizing our employees, and then advertising so that we can attract those high quality people. So we have added some things in our next year's budget for that. And we will continue to try to find time. I think that's one of the resources that a
across our district, we hear our folks feel like have a lot on their plate and they don't have the time to take on or spend doing something different. So that may be an area where we need to look at as we go through our action teams. And then it's possible that we'll need some additional staffing, whether that is professional development trainers or PLC coaches, or some training that they need to have, but there may be some positions that we will be required to take that work to the next level. So we listed our strategies, our action steps. We have some buckets to kind of summarize what those action steps will be, and we've shared strategy 1 with you at our last update, but strategy 2 we did recently finalize. So we hope to reboot the professional learning communities, develop some supports around PLCs, initiate some support staff collaboration, and provide tools for data, create some formats for collaboration, and increase some innovation opportunities. So those are the areas under that strategy 2 that we'll focus on and have some identifiable steps as we move towards action teams. Our next meeting with our advisory committee is April 8th, and we will review with them the action steps from strategy 2, those specific items, and ask for them to give us some feedback if we're on the right track and if we're thinking big enough for a 5-year plan. And we'll also seek some feedback on our leading and lagging KPIs. So while I shared with you those key KPIs for our whole goal strategy, there are several leading KPIs that we are looking at as well, those key performance indicators. And then our standing committee will come back together on May 13th and we'll review that input from advisory, and we are excited that at that meeting we'll be able to start to really form some action teams and get them working on the work. So it's been a long process for us, but it's been very thoughtful, and we have really taken a lot of steps to get a lot of input from our stakeholders and our standing teams. So we're just excited to not jump off the ledge and get going.
So move on to Go Forward.
Thanks, Go Forward's Engaged Family and Community Partnerships. I lead that out with Dr. Chris Garland. Some of our recent celebrations are positive feedback that we've received on the district mobile app. I don't know if you've heard, but we have a district mobile app available in the App Store or Google Play for your Android or Apple device. We've had a great stretch of community engagement meetings recently, certainly some of which the board has been a part of. Our superintendent's PTO roundtable, our parent speaker series, Brownies with the board, and our senior pals event just this week. So those are all great events. We just recently completed the 3rd annual communications survey. The results of that are on the district website, and a summary has been provided to the board as well. That will also help us establish some baseline numbers in our survey for our KPIs, for things around things like parent satisfaction with two-way communication at both the building and district level. Our committee members are visiting area senior citizen centers to identify some additional engagement opportunities. We know that asking our seniors to come and visit with us is not going to be enough, that we're going to have to push in to some of the assisted living facilities and senior citizen centers in order to make those connections. A fun social media milestone. Last week we sent the 5,000th tweet from the district Twitter account. I should have tweeted that out. Hashtag FHSD Pride, and we now have more than 8,000 followers, so our social media continues to become more robust all the time. And the next edition of The Connection was put to bed today, 3/14. We sent to 45,000 households, and it will hit mailboxes on 3/25, so the Monday that we get back from spring break. Key performance indicators, I mentioned the district mobile app. We've passed 2,000 downloads, which was a leading KPI for the initiative. So that number represents more than 10% of parents and staff in the district, indicating that we are ahead of the national average for app adoption, but it's Francis Howell, so we expect to be ahead of the national average. The committee has also established draft KPIs for all other action steps. Action step 1 we know is going to be a big part of our work in the near future, and that's the district-wide two-way communications platform for parents. So we're in the process now of investigating some different possibilities, both a standalone option and actually Dr. Garland and I are meeting with Rich Wilson tomorrow to talk about a learning management system and if an LMS might have a communication module that would be available for that. Action step 3 is we investigate and implement additional strategies to engage our senior citizens. We're going to be looking not only at the number of events that we have for our seniors, but at the number of seniors that are participating in those events. Strategy 2 is developing real-world authentic opportunities to extend learning. And the first action step we identified as one that we know has some crossover with goal areas 1 and 2. So we still have some work to do to kind of close the loop on the soft skills, the life skills initiative, and figure out whether that's going to be a collaborative effort or whether that's going to go to a different goal area. Action step 2 is offering additional summer enrichment programs. So we hope not only to increase the number of programs, but the number of students enrolled and the satisfaction that parents and students report in those programs. And action step 3 is we're providing students exposure to real-world, authentic learning and career opportunities. We're going to be increasing the number of community partnerships and the number of high school graduates that have some sort of job or career experiences while they are here with us. Some of this might also involve an additional question on the senior survey, because the only thing we love more than surveys is monkeying with our surveys and making sure that they fill our needs when it comes to things like KPIs. So next steps, as I mentioned, we know that we'll have some work to do with the LMS, the two-way platform, and working with some other groups to see what sort of crossover we have in some of our initiatives.
I co-chaired Goal 5 with Matt Grover, and I want to start with a celebration of the work that Matt has done with Chuck Dale Dirks and Lindsay Weiss-Smith. They've been our first action team focusing on the Comprehensive Facilities Master Plan and beginning to create a roadmap for how we might be able to implement that. We had a meeting today of the Standing Committee, and we came away with a conclusion that our two strategies, the first one is ensuring that our facilities are safe, secure, well-maintained, equitable, and meet the needs of 21st century teaching and learning. And our second is to secure and allocate resources to maintain essential programs and services that ensure district quality. We came away with the understanding that those two are so intertwined that we can't begin to work on just strategy 1 without having an in-depth conversation about strategy 2. We need to know how much money we have and how we might secure it before we get into any deep conversation. So we're planning a full-day meeting where we can begin, rather than piecemealing that, to look at those two things combined. So I'm very excited about that. Other things have been covered in my report. I'd be happy to answer questions.
I have a question. Infinite Campus, is that our LMS currently?
It's our student information system.
SIS.
LMS, SIS.
We love our acronyms.
Any other discussion? All right. On to superintendent comments.
I have a few celebrations today. Congratulations to Independent's fourth grade teacher, Rachel Wilcox, for her selection as District Teacher of the Year, and Prince Hall Union Counselor, Alicia Ewing, for her selection as Support Staff Employee of the Year. Both of these dedicated individuals go above and beyond for our students and for their school communities. We will recognize them along with our building winners at the Hall of Fame award ceremony on Monday, May 6th. Prince Hall High School and Prince Hall Central have been named Project Lead the Way Distinguished Schools for the 18-19 school year. The two high schools are among only 7 high schools in Missouri to receive distinction for this year, and among only 32 high schools in the nation to be recognized for 2 consecutive years. Our schools recently had the opportunity to participate in Missouri Tri-County Regional Science and Engineering Fair and compete against other schools from St. Charles, Lincoln, and Warren counties. A total of 20 elementary and middle school students from Francis Hall placed in the fair. The district is proud of these students and their commitment to STEM activities. 25 students from the Lewis and Clark Career Center have earned the right to compete at Skills USA Missouri State Leadership and Skills Conference in April. Competing recently at the district level, students from all 3 high schools earned a total of 9 gold medals. The students were competing in a variety of technical, hands-on, written, and oral categories that related directly to their program of study at Lewis and Clark. At the St. Charles County EDC STEM Breakfast, a student from each of the 18 high schools in St. Charles County was recognized as top STEM high school seniors. Francis Hall students that were honored were David Yang from Francis Hall High School, Kevin Tran from Francis Hall North, and Anna Rodekamp from Francis Hall Central. Congratulations to these seniors who were recognized for their STEM achievements. Francis Hall will begin partnering with a group called Mentors for College, which is a nonprofit organization that provides assistance to high schools during their college search. The new partnership aligns with the new strategic plan. Mentors for College is a no-cost program that will be offered to any high school student in the district. It will help to identify local parents and community members with a passion to help students and families navigate the college search, application, and financial aid process. Finally, as we head into next week, I want to wish everyone a restful and fun spring break. It is definitely time.
Upcoming meetings. Board, we have upcoming meetings for review. April 11th, which will be a reorganization meeting, and May 16th. Are there any additional changes? Additions or changes?
Mr. Allen, we have board comments and requests.
Turn the page. Board of Education request, so, any requests? Mr. Hay?
This isn't a request, it's just a comment. I did have the opportunity to attend the St. Charles County STEM breakfast, of which our superintendent talked about, but it was amazing to see one student from every school in St. Charles County, as well as Lewis and Clark, were represented there. And when you talk about the schools that they're attending and grade point averages like 4.8, 4.6, and ACT scores of 35 and 36, you know, it's very humbling to see and, you know, encouraging to see the talent that's coming out of our schools and out of our district and out of our county that's going to be leading the way for years to come. So it was an awesome event just to be able to participate in that and honor these students for what they're doing. And the one thing I know, we covered it early on, but tomorrow afternoon at 3:30, Francis Howell High School boys will be competing for a berth in the finals. They're in the Final Four right now, so they'll be in the finals after they win tomorrow and beat CBC. So let's all cross our fingers and wish them well. So thanks.
Mr. Lane?
I just wanted to thank Lisa Simpkins for the Meet FHSD event. I thought it was well attended at 174, but it was very well organized. I got to walk around this year. Last year she threw me in the library. I didn't know anything else was going on, but it was a great event. Enjoyed meeting with the Palace Group, and the community concert band was excellent. It was nice to see that this young lady's her 8th year performing with alumni, community members, parents, and teachers throughout the building. Also attended the early childhood trivia night that give hundreds of dollars away in scholarships to parents. I just met a parent at a principals meeting at Hackman that utilized the resource of helping them pay for 2 months of school while they transitioned as their husband had lost their job. So it was a great trivia night, and Will Vanderpool and Susie and I went, and it was well attended, and they collected a lot of money for our children. And not many people attended, but it was very well done by David Brothers and his team at Harvest Bridge Elementary School. They did a math night, so parents could come in and see what math was all about. I highly recommend other principals look into what they're doing, because a lot of information was shared. There were probably about 50 people in attendance that night. And I was hoping for more, because it gave those parents a good opportunity to see what was out there and what was expected of their child. Thank you.
Ms. Walker?
I'm going to be selfish just a second. So the science fair that our students participated in, my niece, Alyssa Corbett, she actually won first place. We apparently took several of the very top positions in the middle school kids, took numerous top positions. So I just wanted to give a shout out to those teachers that are dealing with the middle school students and then helping them to succeed in knocking it out of the park in this. So she had sent me a picture of her first place, 8th grade physical science, Missouri Tri-County Regional. So I'm super proud of all these kids, but just wanted that special shout out.
It's the first story on the district website right now.
Thanks.
Ms. Stiglitz?
I would like to say, I was at Warren Elementary for their STEAM day, and it was very, very well attended, and the kids were all enjoying themselves. I learned some new things, like how to etch things and everything. It was amazing. So, and the other thing I learned was how to take blood pressures. So, it was pretty, it was pretty fascinating, so enjoyed every single bit of it. I think that we need to remember we have a really great school district here, folks, and we all work really hard to work together to make sure we stay that way. Now, my next question is for Mr. Jason. We heard about writing competitions. Do you like to write? Do you? Do you like to write those big paragraphs like she was talking about, 5 and 6 paragraphs long?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, yes, sir. Okay. I actually just finished writing a paper for history today, and it took up about 2 pages. So.
On the computer or?
On the computer.
Which is 4 pages of handwritten for those of us that used to try to do that.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Okay, upcoming meetings. I know we talked about this, I jumped ahead, but any changes? Well, thanks for coming, Jason. I had it on here to tell you that now, so anything else you want to add?
Yes, y'all, I just want to thank y'all for this great opportunity, and I would like to thank God for giving me such great parents, a safe school to go to, and a great principal.
I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting. Motion made by Ms. Walker, second by Ms. Lang. By roll call?
Ms. Walker?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Meeting adjourned.